Alright, today we're mounting a northern pike. This pike is only about 12 inches long. The reason I'm not mounting a bigger one, one, because I didn't catch a bigger one. Two, I don't want to mount a 40-45 inch pike on my first try because I don't know how it's going to turn out. Also, the lake that we caught it on, you can catch about 100 of these, so the locals actually want you to take a bunch of them. So if anybody out there is saying, why am I doing this? That's my reasoning. First, like all my other videos, you have to take a tracing of the fish for your cardboard cutout for later when you make a foam carving. So, just trace the fish like so. Alright, and we'll save that for later when we have to cut it out and make a carving on the foam. Other than that, again, we are going to cut down the center of the back side of the fish all the way to the tail. We're going to go just underneath the skin, and we're just going to go right underneath the skin on both sides, and then we're going to take our scraping tool and then scrape all the meat out on the inside. So I'm going to get started on that. Now we are going to go underneath the cut we made right on the skin and just work our way toward the back. Just careful not to poke your knife through because you don't want any holes. Otherwise we'll have to patch those up later. Okay, once I have the center cut down the fish, I'm going to take this little skinning tool here. It's just going to scrape out all the meat. You're going to get into this taxidermy. I can't talk enough about how much these are such a good thing to have. Save a lot of time. Just scrapes the meat right out. Other tool you're going to need is a wire snippers. These are the best to cut through the backbone. Makes it easier that way so you don't actually cut through the skin. You just cut that backbone and take it out kind of chunk by chunk. For a beer break. Good stuff. Alright, I have my fish skinned out the way I want. Turned out pretty good. I got the eyes out, got the cheek meat out. So it's actually ready to be put in the mixture. So I have a bucket, a little bit of water in here, and then some denatured alcohol. You're going to want to put a 50-50 mixture of this, so half and half. Go ahead and pour some of this in the bucket. Call that half and half, and you're going to set your fish in there. You're going to set your fish in there for a couple of days. I usually leave mine in there 2 or 3 days. You can leave it in there probably up to 2 weeks. I wouldn't put it in there for too much longer. Just seal that up. Okay, so that part's done. Now we're ready to make our foam carving. Alright, I got this set and got it cut out. We're set to make our foam carving. Actually, you don't need to carve out all of the head because the foam carving only goes to about a little above the eyes and lower into the jaw. So we're actually going to take a little piece of this off. And even when we're done with our carving, we might need to make some adjustments to make it fit inside the fish, but we'll do that when we have to. And then I'll go ahead and trace it onto this piece of foam. And this is carving foam that I actually bought online. Alright, so now we are set to carve it out. Alright, it's not looking too bad. I have to trim it up a little bit, and I'm sure when I get the fish in there I'll have to make some adjustments, but for now you guys get the picture. This is set to go, and I just gotta wait a couple days and let my fish soak, and we'll be ready to put the carving inside. Alright, I've made a few adjustments on this. Had to trim it down a little bit more than I thought, but I think we're about ready to go here. So I've got my fish here. He's actually only been drying for 1 day. I'm actually going to see if I can do this whole entire process in 4 days, which is pushing it a little bit. I realize you should not try to rush these things, but I'm going to see if I can do it. So he's been drying for a day in the solution. We're going to set him in here. Should have a little pull on it just a little bit to make sure it's tight. That tail should go on there. You don't want it to be too loose, but you don't want to rip it either. I'm actually going to pin that in place right there so it doesn't slip off when I'm sewing it. Alright, so I'll sew it together, kind of tighten the skin up back here. It's okay if there's an opening back here because you're not even going to see that anyway. Perfect. Alright, not looking bad. He's all sewed up now. Okay, so once we have it sewed up, we're going to take our pins and pin the fins the way we want them. Alright, fins are pinned. Alright, now that I have my fish sewn up and pinned, put a little bit of clay in his eye, and then I'm going to put the glass eye in there. Usually you have to measure out the eye socket before, but I have a couple eyes just laying on hand, so usually I can find one that fits. Pretty much you just push it in there. There, doesn't look too bad. Okay, so next thing you're going to do is you're going to put a layer of Mod Podge on each one of the back sides of the fins. And then when you're done putting that first layer on, you're going to put a piece of white tissue paper over that layer. And then again, Mod Podge over the white tissue paper. Let those dry. And the last thing I'm going to do before this step's done, firm cardboard to kind of prop open that mouth. Say like so. And sometimes the head kind of slouches down, so you want to set it on something to kind of prop it up so it doesn't go down like that, so it's up. And then I'm going to put a piece of cardboard in the gills to make those kind of flare out. Okay, he's ready to dry. Once the Mod Podge is dried, I'll take the caulk, the clear caulk, and I'll just put it on the fins to kind of make them tough. But for right now, this is starting to look pretty good. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put my first layer of clear siliconized acrylic caulk on here. This toughens up the fins and makes them kind of flexible and rubbery. For total, we're going to put on 3 layers of this, but I'm only going to show me putting on the one. That'll be the first coat, and then after that dries, we'll put on 2 more. Now we just gotta let it dry, and then after that, if there's any spots we need to touch up, we'll take some epoxy sculpt and we'll fix that up, and then comes the painting. Okay, so we're on the final steps before painting here. I trimmed off all the excess paper on his fins. Now I just put a little bit of a epoxy sculpt on the areas that shrunk a little bit, or that may had damage when I cut with my knife. So on top of the head, that's usually prone to shrinking, so I put a little on top there. Back here, looks like he had an old scar or something, so I put a little bit back toward his tail. You always got to remember to put a little detail into it as well, because if you don't draw a couple scales on it, it'll really stick out. I usually just take a pin or something and just draw those on there. Also a little mark up by his gill there, just filled that in. Other than that, he's ready for painting. This is day 3. Typically you want to let him dry a little longer, but with this small of a fish, I'm kind of pushing my limits here and seeing what I can do. So he should be good to go. It's looking pretty good. We'll see how it turns out when I paint him. Alright, we have our paint schedule book here. This lays out all the steps for you.